Welcome to Faith's Botanical Bootcamp. Houseplants 101.
I'm Vanessa.
I'm Caroline.
And we are going to talk to you today about getting started with houseplants, or, if you're getting back into it, maybe haven't had such good luck in the past with them. We're here to help you work through that.
Yes, and we'll open a Q&A at the end. So go ahead and write those questions down because we're ready.
All right. So before you get started bringing home plants, the first thing you want to do is look at what kind of lighting you have in your house. All plants need some light. Nothing grows in the dark. And, you read a lot online about bright indirect light, direct light, this, that, and it's just what does that mean?
What does it mean, Vanessa?
I think the easiest way to look at it is, if you're going through your windows in your house, well, what direction does it face? So, north-facing windows, that is going to be fairly low indirect light. It's not going to get any direct sun during the day. East windows are going to get sun in the morning. Morning sun's nice and gentle and bright.
It is.
But it doesn't, it's not as harsh, so it doesn't tend to burn plants. West windows get light in the afternoon. That one's going to be a little bit stronger and more intense, good for those bright light loving plants.
I have a lot of cacti in my west-facing window.
And then south windows are just, that's what
the
everybody
wild window.
wants.
Yeah. If only we could all have south-facing windows.
Yeah, and that's going to be direct sun all throughout the day. And, if you're looking at low or medium light plants, the south and west windows, you have a little bit of wiggle room there too. Your plants don't have to be right in front of the window. You can move them a little further away or do sheer curtains or blinds or something like that.
Diffuse that light.
Yeah, don't have to be right in the window.
Then you look pretty classy.
Yes, plants everywhere.
All over.
That is the aesthetic that we're going for.
Oh, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to watering. Watering can be a little tricky with houseplants. The climate in your house is going to be different, especially as seasons change, or if you move and you're like, this plant did great, but you might have to water it a little bit differently. Not all plants are the same when it comes to watering. Some like a lot of water, some like barely any at all. So, a good thing to do is read up on your plants when you buy them, what kind of water they take, what they need, what they like. They'll also let you know, especially in the winter, when they get thirsty and they need more water.
And it's also kind of, what do you like to do too? Are you, very attentive? Do you want plants that you can, kind of tend to every day and, really take care of? Or do you kind of like the low maintenance, low fuss sort of thing? It'll be fine if you leave it alone for a while, don't water it. So it's just, whatever works for you.
I'm a non-waterer.
Yeah, no,
I have
same.
a lot of cacti.
I have too much going on.
A lot of Sansevieria. But if you love to water, ferns.
Ferns.
Best way to go. They love water. I mean, you can overwater them. But they'll let you know.
It's hard to overwater.
It's better to underwater than overwater. You can usually fix underwatering by just upping that watering cycle, doing it a little more often. If you overwater, it's going to start rotting that plant, and that can be a little tricky to reverse. So I always say go for underwatering and then pick it up if you feel like you need to.
Yeah. It's about listening to your plants. They'll let you know what they need.
They're your friends, too.
Yes.
They're my best friends, so.
Yeah. And then next, we're going to talk about just some of our favorite beginner-friendly houseplants, things that are fairly easy to take care of, and forgiving if you do make mistakes. So take it away, Caroline.
All right. So we're going to start with some higher water. Plants that like high water, kind of medium. They can tolerate low light. So we're going to start with this peace lily here. I'll just move it around so you know which one I'm talking about. So this little guy is a great beginner plant. They can tolerate lower light. Again, they're going to need to be in a room with a window that does get some light, but they don't need to get direct light. You can set them across the room, or they'll get something that's diffused. These plants will let you know when they need water.
Oh, yes, they will.
They just start to droop, and as soon as they do, you can water them up. And usually in 30 minutes, they look just like this
right
again.
Back.
So that's a good one to start with, especially if you're a little on the fence about watering. You're like, I don't quite know. I might kill it. I might overwater. I might underwater it. This is the guy for you. Now, our bird's nest fern over here. Hope you can see that.
Oh, it's a little bit out of frame.
Okay. Let's bring it in here.
You got it.
I'm going to poke my face on this Sansevieria.
Don't do it.
There we
Yeah.
go.
That's
So this beautiful guy,
a little bit to the left.
bird's nest. Oh, this way.
This way?
Up. My
It's great.
I'm just going to drift back and forth while we figure this out. This is another great, it's a little harder than the peace lily. So not a terrible beginner plant.
Kind of like medium light. Like mine gets morning, like pretty direct sun in the morning, and it loves
Same,
it.
that's where I have mine, and
Yeah.
it is so happy.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll grow fast if they're in the right.
Guys, I'm a fern killer, and this thing is thriving
Yes,
for
she
me.
is.
So, yeah.
Go
Bird's
with
nest
this one.
fern. Great.
Another
great
high
first
water
houseeplant.
plant. I actually have mine sitting in a saucer. I don't keep water in it all the time, but it does sit in water for like a day or so,
Yeah.
and it loves it. So that's one that can tolerate a lot of water. If you're an overwaterer, an overlover perhaps, this is a good plant
Yeah.
for you.
Ferns and peace lilies are good ones.
I'm just going to put this down here. Go back.
All right. And then one of my favorite groups of plants, especially if you're kind of more, even if you don't know, like you might be more in the middle of watering, medium light, medium water, are going to be pothos, like our friend the golden pothos over here. That is an excellent first house plant. They grow really quickly, and they're really forgiving. Like they tolerate low light well. They can do a little bit brighter, medium light.
They're so easy and easy to propagate.
Yes,
Those are the
they're-
ones you see kind of trailing down people's walls. If you want to make a plant wall, that's a
Yes,
great one.
pothos. And it grows fast, too, which, that's fun, especially if you're, newer to houseplants, too. It's like you want something you can see, like, growing and changing. And then philodendrons are another one of my favorite. Most of them will do, like, about medium light or so. They can adapt to lower light, too. They might not be quite as, like, compact, but they survive and thrive. Yeah, this little guy, the vining philodendron, is one of my favorites.
I have one on my mantle, which doesn't get a lot of bright light, but it is growing like
that's
crazy.
a good low light one, is that little heartleaf philodendron.
And it's easy. Mine's dried out because I forgot to water it for like 2 weeks. And it was fine. Never got droopy or anything.
Yeah, philodendrons are very forgiving, I think. They don't like to sit too wet. That is the one thing that will lead you to have some issues with them, is if they're sitting too wet for too long. They have big roots that really like a lot of air. So, nice chunky soil mix will help like prevent overwatering with those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty forgiving on either end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
Love
those
them.
are easy ones. And they're great. Look
Yeah.
at this Birkin, which we have a few left.
Yeah.
Get you one.
Very cute.
All right, so we'll move on to some lower light plants and very low water. So if you're like me and you're not great at a watering schedule or watering in general, these are going to be great plants for you.
Yeah.
So Sansevieria, I've got one right here. I'll move her in a little bit.
Yeah. The snake plant, or mother-in-law's tongue, are some of the old common names for them.
Can you move the Birkin so we can
Yes.
stand?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll replace it. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, now you
swap.
guys can really see that shine. So this is a great one. It's got this yellow that'll really make it pop in a dark room.
Yeah.
And we also have this guy up here. And now these are going to be lower light, so they're not going to tolerate direct sunlight at all. They can be in a room that gets some bright light, but they need to be on the other side.
Yeah, they'll adapt to like a medium kind of light, but like they're very low light tolerant.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
they're
good way
great to
put it.
have in a spot where you can't really grow anything else. I actually have a few in my hallway.
Yeah.
So there's light coming in from rooms on the ends of the hall, but it does great. Overwatering with these, I would say, is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
They do not really like to be watered. I've probably watered mine twice in the last 3 months. And it's growing
Not
like
very
crazy.
often. Yeah.
When you do water it, if you do water it all the way through and it has a saucer underneath, you're going to want to take that water out after like a minute or two and dump it so it's not sitting in anything.
Do not let it sit in water.
No, they're not happy when they have to sit. But they are cool and super easy. And they grow fairly fast. Like mine in the
Yeah.
right conditions. They'll
And
get wild.
yeah, and like super low light, they might not grow very fast, but like they're gorgeous. They're evergreen. I think they're like, very like kind of modern sort of house plant, low maintenance,
And
no
there's some that get
fuss.
very tall, some that stay little. There's so many kinds. You can come see us and we'll show you all the different
Yes.
kinds we have. And then moving on to another pretty low maintenance plant, low water, low light, is our ZZ. Ooh, right here. So it's kind of the same thing with the mother-in-law. Like this one will start to rot pretty quickly if it's
Yes.
sitting in water at all. So you want to just let that dry out all the way in between waterings.
Yeah.
How often would you water yours, Vanessa?
Right now, like maybe it's kind of tight in its pot, so the dirt doesn't hold a whole lot of water, but it's probably like every almost 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah,
And it does get some direct sun, but not a whole
but
lot.
not a ton. So those, again, are great plants if you don't have a lot of bright light or if you have a lot of plants and you need to give the bright windows to your monstera,
Yes.
your ficus, things that like a little bit brighter. And also if you're not a big waterer, that's a good one to go for.
All right. Next, Dracaena are probably, I would say that's the broadest category of plants. You have a couple nice big ones behind us
Can we
over
see
here.
them, Tyler?
You
No.
have to move them.
Little.
How close do we
Hello.
need to go?
How
Oh,
close?
I'll bring this guy in. Vanessa, take
yes.
it away.
All right. Yeah. So this is a Dracaena. We have, I think this one's the Janet Craig.
Yes.
They are very adaptable, versatile plants. You can do them in low, medium, or even brighter light if you let them get used to it slowly. Pretty medium on the watering too. Again, they don't like to sit too wet, and they can handle getting pretty dry in between too. But I'd say, let them dry out like about halfway between watering.
You don't want to let them dry for too long. But they're so easy.
They're really
like pretty much
easy.
any environment. And there's so many different kinds. Like
Yes, yeah, we have a limelight right here. Nice little pop of color, and these guys get really big and full. We've also got a few of like the marginata, that skinny leaf one I was holding in the frame earlier. A lot of those are like sculpted into like little palm tree shapes, so they're nice and compact for small spaces.
bring the tropics into your home this winter when everything is sad outside.
All right. And then last but not least,
cactus and succulent. Those right now in your house, we touched on it with our last webinar, overwintering your houseplants. They're going to be easy if you have enough light. So southwest facing are going to be the best windows to go for with cacti. We've got a euphorbia, not really a cactus, still looks like one, right here. Tyler, can you see it?
Just a little bit. Bring it on over. Not to get
Oh,
prickly.
let's see. Here we go. She's flying in hot. All right. So last but not least, and we do have a lot of different varieties in our greenhouse, but like I said, if you've got bright light, I mean, this is probably the most low maintenance thing you can go for.
Stick it in a
especially
window.
in the winter. Yeah, stick it in the window. The window. The window. I might water my cacti like twice during the winter. And they'll usually, like, you can see when they need water, they'll start to thin out, especially up top, when they start to dry out. That's a big thing. You don't want to overwater those in the winter because they will rot really quickly. Now, in the summer, I know we're not there yet, but I do put all of mine outside and just let them get rained on, and they're so happy. So they can take high water as long as they're in an environment that gets a lot of sun and open air. But yeah, I think that's it on the plant profiles.
Yeah. Of course, there's many more honorable mentions. So definitely let us know if you have any questions at the end for any particular varieties.
All right, we're gonna
Oh, we've got questions already.
try to
Already?
get this back. Do we want to answer any now or wait till the end?
Well, how about like a little question break?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. First up, what are the signs of over or under watering?
Ooh, well, it kind of depends on the plant, like what variety. Like I talked about with peace lilies, underwatering, and same with
Yeah.
like any leafed plant, like the monstera, philodendrons will start to kind of droop.
Yeah, just drooping. You might get like some browning leaves or
They'll start
losing
to dry up,
leaves. Or
especially
they'll
at
look
the
a little
base.
curled too sometimes.
Yeah.
A little crinkly.
But it's also a little bit tricky because they will start to droop if they're overwatered.
Yes.
But a good rule of thumb, if they're drooping and you haven't watered in a week or two, that's probably going to be it.
But yeah, for overwatering, like you can also get yellowing leaves near the base, drooping. If it's pretty advanced, basically the roots will break down so the plant can't take up any more water. So it looks like it's, dry and wilting, but it's actually too wet.
And you can always, if you're having trouble, for one, you can always call us or email or come by. But you can pull your plant out of the pot and check the roots. You'll be able to tell if it's got root rot. Healthy roots should be white or like a very light brown. When they start to rot, they're going to turn gross and
mushy.
It's not
really
gonna
nice.
be pretty in there. It's going to be a little bit scary. So,
but yeah, usually I would say overwatering is a more common issue for a lot of things.
absolutely, Vanessa.
All right. I received a potted plant with multiple plants in it. What is the best watering habit for a mixed plant pot?
Okay. Well, that kind of depends on what the mixed plant pot is. Hopefully, they were
well paired.
Which we are doing a webinar on mixed planters in
Tune in
2
next
weeks.
week or 2 weeks,
I believe. So if it's a succulent planter, we don't have any succulents in here, unfortunately. That's going to need
very little
watering. Maybe right now, like
if
every
it's like
3 weeks.
Yeah,
just a
very
sprinkling.
minimal. If it's something like, mixed foliage houseplants, I would say, and you're not super sure, like just go right for the middle, like, something like maybe once a week. If it's got as long as it's got good drainage
holes.
too.
That's a big thing too. Drain holes in those pots. So you might want to check that before you water. You can also take a picture and bring it in, and we can identify those plants for you. Unless you know what they are, and you can type it in the comment area.
And creating mixed planters for gifts is going to be Friday, December 11th at 10.
Perfect. Did they hear you say that, Tyler?
Yeah.
Yay!
So.
That's Tyler behind the computer, everyone. He makes the magic happen.
He does.
Little old me. Right. Moving on. Let's see. I have problems with my Norfolk Island pine's lower branches turning brown. What does it need as far as light and watering?
Those are pretty low light. If they get direct light, it's usually at the top. They'll start to kind of turn and
like yellow, a little crispy.
Kind of, but as soon as you bring them out of the light, they should get their greenery back. Yeah. That might be underwatering. Those do like water a lot more than you would expect. I keep mine pretty moist all the time. So unless you're overwatering, which you can put in the comments, it's more than likely underwatering.
Yeah.
And you can cut those branches off, like if they're gone, cut them off, and it'll take it into more of a tree form, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely tune in December 4th for Caring for Holiday Houseplants, which Norfolk Island Pine is one of them.
Yeah.
We got you covered.
We do. All the plants.
I have 2 big sansevierias. Leaves drop. Do not stay straight. I do not overwater.
That might be a matter of soil being low.
Yeah, either soil or I don't know. Mine kind of does get a little bit more flexible as it gets taller, especially if it's maybe a little on the thirstier side. I actually just put a big ribbon around mine to kind of bunch it up together, and it looks so cute. It's also festive. Vanessa. Yes.
Oh.
But yeah, I think, when the leaves get super tall, that can happen. Or if it's maybe a little thirsty, they get a little more flexible.
I've definitely experienced with my sansevieria, if I don't soak it after not watering it for a month or 2, it will really shrivel up.
Yeah.
Okay. I have Dieffenbachia memoria corsi. It keeps getting translucent brown areas. The soil drains well, and it gets lower light. It's not yellow halo around it or anything. Could this be a lighting issue? What light would you recommend?
They like brighter light. You said it's getting lower?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets lower light.
Yeah, they do seem to like brighter light, bright but like filtered light.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't, the Dieffenbachia I've had, I feel like they do shed those lower leaves a little bit more.
Yeah, we're usually
like they
trimming
kind of
them a
get,
lot.
yeah, they kind of get like longer and like, they look almost like little palm trees, like, or at least mine did when they got tall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would like, yeah, lose a leaf and then put out a couple new ones and like lose an old one. So yeah, the translucent.
And did they say they're not overwatering or under? Whoa.
Let's see. Soil drains well.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
You can try like maybe a little gentle fertilizer too if it's like losing those old leaves whenever it's putting out new ones too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have pink syngonium, and the leaves drop, and leaves get crisp and dry. I do not over or underwater. Sits in a window with indirect light.
That could be a humidity.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Those crispy leaves. Usually a humidity problem, especially if it's happening now as like you turn your heat on in your house. That's going to dry out your climate.
Yeah.
So a humidifier near those plants that love humidity.
Or
Which,
if it's just like, the one plant too, you can do those pebble trays, little humidity trays.
which we did touch on in overwintering. But basically just you can use a saucer, fill it with small rocks, pebbles, water, and then set your plant on top. And that should help out with that.
Okay, I have a question about, I'm just going to say, are previous presentations accessible online? Yes. There's a link in the chat. All of our webinars will be archived with notes and links, so check that out. Typically, give us about a week to put out another webinar from production time. If I don't have a room with good light, can I do anything? Lights work?
Plant lights are great, and there's a lot of options for grow lights, and they can actually sometimes be better, and you can leave them on all the time. And your plant will let you know, like,
Yeah, there's a lot of inexpensive grow light options like on Amazon. I've tried a few different ones and I've
Home
really
Depot
liked
has,
them.
like, grow bulbs. I don't know if all of them do, but they're pretty easy
just
to
replace
find.
all the lights in your home with like grow light bulbs. It'll be great.
And just fill your house with plants. Come to our world.
But yeah, and I mean, even in low or like very indirect light, those ZZ plants, those sansevierias, tend to do just fine.
Yeah, like I said, my hallway, there's no windows in the hallway. It just gets light from either end when the doors are open, and it's growing better than ones that I have in other spots in my house. So if you don't want to mess with grow lights just yet, you might want to try a sansevieria or a ZZ and see how that does. As long as the window or the room has a window and it's getting
somewhere in there
light somewhere, it should be fine.
How do you deal with fungus on a sansevieria?
Ooh.
Yeah, fungus, usually I would start with just if it's like on the leaves and stuff, just remove those leaves. Try and get as much off as you can. Next, probably look at the soil too. Maybe repot into something with more drainage, or you can even use like a cactus soil too for them.
Yeah. Or mix something in, which we'll touch on.
Yeah, and there's, you can apply a fungicide if it's still spreading to you or if it's on like a lot of leaves and you don't want to remove as much of the plant.
Yeah. Because you can always just take the leaf off from the base. And you won't even be able to see that it's missing. So,
but yeah, and we have there's copper fungicide or the fungineal that we carry at Bates. Those are really good, all-purpose fungicides for that too. Or neem oil.
Yeah, I use that on everything. It does wonders.
Cool. Okay, one last question, then we're going to pick back up, and then you can continue submitting your questions, and we'll get more at the end.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving Christmas cactus that sparsely blooms. Any suggestion for increasing the amount of blooms?
The amount of blooms, it might be fertilizer, but
probably
that should have happened a few months ago. Because I have a few, and one of them that I didn't fertilize actually. It's budding, but only half of it is, and it's very sparse. It's not like one side, so it's not a matter of light. It's evenly sparse. So fertilizer with that.
And late summer, you think, probably?
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can still, give it a light feed. Like in wintertime, you do want to be careful not to go too overboard on the fertilizer. Like use, maybe half strength or quarter strength, just so it's not too much, like while they're kind of slowing down for the season.
Yeah, and those cactus are fun too. They can tolerate lower light. Cactus is in the name, so you think it needs highlight, but I put mine on my porch in the summer that doesn't get any direct light. And then I keep it kind of in a dark area.
Yeah, those are good ones. We just got a bunch in, too.
We did. I bought 2.
'Tis the season.
Yes, it is. Holidays.
Yeah.
All right, so back to cool.
All right.
We'll pick back up with the Q&A a little bit later. So we're going to talk about choosing the right pot for your plant, which sounds easy, but sometimes can be a little bit tricky. Like we touched on, watering with plants, it's all different. So pottery with plants is all going to be a little bit different. Now, it's always a popular thing to go with terracotta. It's cheap. It looks cool. You can paint it. The only problem with this is it's going to draw the moisture out of the soil very quickly. So these are great for cacti, for succulent, sansevieria.
Even like philodendron, I think, appreciate it too.
Yeah. I would stay away from this with ferns. Peace lily.
Oh, calathea probably too.
Those high moisture plants that we touched on earlier. Terracotta is probably not the best for them. Now, if you do love the look of terracotta, I have before bought terracotta and then sealed it with Mod Podge, which is super easy, and that's going to help hold that moisture in. Then you can put pictures from a magazine on your pot. You can get creative with that. Get crafty, paint a picture, brighten it up a little bit. So yeah, terracotta, same thing right here, different color, but you can feel the texture on those pots, and it's going to draw that moisture out. Again, great for cactus and succulent, bad for ferns.
Look out for a webinar about pots.
Yes!
Coming winter next year.
Get ready.
Well, January, February.
It'll be soon, and I have a lot to say about that, too. So now moving on to just plastic pots. They're cheap, they're light. So if you have something big that you need to plant, this is a great option if you're going to have to move that plant back and forth, in and out to different rooms. I move my plants around all the time.
I like to do all my bigger plants in plastic pots just because I want to be able to move them.
Yeah, and these will hold moisture better than terracotta, so you won't have to water quite as often with these. That moisture will stay in. One important thing to check when you're getting a plastic pot, does it have holes in the bottom? Some of them come with holes. Some of them come, doesn't look like they have holes, but there's areas that will make it easy for you to punch it. Some don't. You do always want drainage for your houseplants.
Yes.
Super important. We talked about root rot earlier. If you don't have drainage in your pots, you're going to be sad.
But yeah, unfortunately, the cachet pots, those little cute little pots without drain holes, they are very common, very popular. It doesn't mean you shouldn't use them. You can, with the plastic ones, you can always add drainage, or you can use it as a cachet, meaning you leave your plant in its plastic pot with drain holes, and you just set it in there, and you have a cute little saucer.
That's right. And you don't put the plant directly in there. It goes in the pot, in the cachet. And it's also good for those plants that love water, because you can let water sit in the bottom, like we were talking about with the bird's nest earlier. This one's great, and you can always check to see if there's water in the bottom. So this is a pot with no holes. Do not put a cactus in it. Don't think you can do it and try it. I've done it before. I'm like, it'll be fine. No, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous game. You're playing with your livelihood with those plants. And last but not least, we've got just kind of a ceramic.
Oh, I was like, what are we going
too far away. Yeah, all right. Teamwork. So this has the look of that standard terracotta pot, but if you see, it's got kind of a glaze on it, so it's going to hold that moisture in. This is like a perfect pot for houseplants, just a general houseplant pot.
Come in cute, fun colors.
They do. We have so many colors here.
I like to coordinate my pots and plants.
Vanessa's so fancy and classy. So there's that drain hole on the bottom there. And again, if you have a plastic pot and it doesn't have holes, those are going to be easier to put holes in. I have put holes in ceramic pots before if you've got think it's like a diamond drill bit. You'll be
Yeah.
able to kind of go through that. I think
on
I
a
put mine
Dremel
down
tool.
in water to do it. But you do run the risk of cracking that pot. But if you really want to put a hole in it, it
Yeah.
can be done. All right. I think moving on to soil.
Yes, last but not least. So houseplant soil is going to be a big consideration. Most houseplants, you can start off with an all-purpose all-purpose potting mix. We make a really great one, the Earth Mix Proganics indoor potting mix. I use that with pretty much all my stuff. Yeah. It's like nice and soft. It's got a lot of earthworm castings, so like good, slow release, organic nutrition. And that is going to be great for a wide range of houseplants. Some of the ones that like it a little bit on the drier side, like of course our cactus, succulents, and even the sansevieria and ZZs we were talking about, you can use either a pre-made cactus mix, which is going to have a lot better drainage, not hold as much water, which is going to be good for those guys. You can also
Mix your own.
Yeah, mix your own. So perlite is one of my favorite things. I use it especially like with my philodendrons too, where they like that chunkier, fluffier soil. It doesn't break down, and it helps it drain better, and adds air to the soil too.
Yeah, which is super important.
Yes.
Especially if you're an overwaterer.
But yeah, and I don't know, I'll kind of tweak my soil mix too, because I'm one of those people, it's like I want to water pretty much all my plants at the same time. Like I usually do about once a week for a lot of my stuff. So I'll kind of, things that might like to dry out a little bit more, I do more perlite in their soil so they're not staying wet as long, and I can kind of hit everything at the same time.
Yeah, smart Vanessa.
Yeah, that's why I have so many plants in my house. It's because I made it too easy for myself.
She did. She has a lot. I've seen them, and they're all great and healthy and happy.
Most of them.
I did just throw one away.
And that, and that's, something too. It's like, everyone at some point you're going to kill a houseplant. It's going to happen.
It's kind of a learn as you go.
Yeah. And it's not, you don't need to give up. You don't need to be sad about, well, maybe a little sad for a short while.
It's not a terrible
It's
thing to
okay,
be sad if
but
you lose a plant.
But yeah, it's
But
all
I would
right.
say
It happens.
I just learned trial by error. I mean, I've been growing houseplants since I was a kid, but I've definitely through my lifetime killed a lot. Because you get a new plant, you don't really know what it likes, and it just might not like you.
Yeah, especially when
prayer plants hate me. I will never buy another one. But some people do great.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Sarah, who might be watching right now.
Yes.
Hey, Sarah, if you're watching. She has an amazing one that she actually got here, and she showed me a picture of it, and it's like this big now on a shelf. Just so happy. The leaves aren't curling. They're not drying out. Good job, Sarah.
But yeah, so it's like, different plants do better in like different home environments. It's like not always clear exactly what or why. So yeah, you just kind of got to find what works for you.
Have to get all new types of plants. So
it's a fun journey.
It is. I get,
Q&A again?
Yes,
let's
back
do
to
it.
Q&A.
Okay, we're opening it up. Please submit your questions to the chat. We've got a couple here already. What types of fertilizer? Is there an all-purpose or plant-specific? And how often should we repot and change the soil?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Repotting and changing the soil kind of depends on the plant and its growth rate. A good rule of thumb with them, especially if it's in a plastic pot. So when you're buying a plant, this is a good thing to go for too as well. So you can squeeze the pot and like see if it's root bound. If it doesn't have much give at all, it's safe to say it's time to repot it.
So that's, you're going to have like so many roots in that pot, like you can't compress it. Also, if it like is drying out really fast or it's becoming difficult to water it, that's probably, it might be time for a repot.
And you'll start to see like roots come out too. And I mean, I probably repot most everything once a year.
Yeah, once a year, probably not more than that, I would say.
No.
Like, you don't want to do it too often. Some of the slower growing stuff, it can be like every couple years.
My cacti is probably every 2 to 3 on those because they grow a lot slower.
Yeah, or like And usually when you do repot, you want to go up about 2 inches in pot size, 2 to 4, depending on how big. But yeah, you don't want to take, like a tiny little 4-inch plant and throw it in like a 10-inch big pot.
No, you don't.
Yeah, they're not going to be happy about that.
No, especially if it's a cactus. It's going to be so
just
sad.
Baby steps.
What was the first part of that?
What types of fertilizer is there an all-purpose or plant-specific fertilizer? And I'm going to go ahead and toss somebody else's question out on this too. Would you fertilize any other plants that flower in the winter, like goldfish plant or? So kind of a two-parter.
I mean, there's a lot of different kinds. There's liquid, there's granular. I use a few different ones. There is all-purpose. I mean, I have a separate one for my cacti and succulent, and then I just use an all-purpose houseplant. And I use like the water-based.
Yeah, I kind of do a little bit of both. I'll do like the slow release, like an Osmocote pellet for, some of my slower growing stuff, just because I can get it in there, or like things that like more food, like my Monstera, like fast growing, kind of heavy feeders like that. I'll do the slow release fertilizer pellets in there. And then I also do like a one when I water, and I just do like a, 10-10-10 kind of all balanced.
That's what I've got.
But I'll usually dilute that down to like, I'd say half strength in the summer, quarter strength in the winter. And I fertilize probably about like once a month in the water.
Yeah, and spring is the
twice.
best time, the most important time to fertilize.
Yeah.
So if you're not good at scheduling, which I'm not, I always make sure to really fertilize in the spring when everything's starting that new growth, when the weather's changing. Even if it's inside, plants still know when the seasons are changing.
And I just, for winter blooming stuff, I'll do just low strength fertilizer for my winter blooming guys.
And I use Super Thrive as well on top of fertilizing.
Super Thrive's good.
It smells pretty bad, but my plants love it. It's like a plant food.
It's like, multivitamin for your plants. So it doesn't have I think it has a little bit of nitrogen, but not the other macros. So it's just kind of like, a nice balanced multivitamin.
Yeah, it's a good thing to add on top. I actually brought all my plants in and then decided to do that. My house smelled terrible for a day. It was great. Yeah. All right. I hope we answered that question.
And so, you pretty much touched on the goldfish and lipstick plant stuff. Too. Okay, I overwatered a snake plant and the leaves are getting mushy. Can I save it?
Probably. I would take it out of the pot, check the roots. You can use that perlite that we talked about earlier to mix in. You might want to change the soil and go ahead and try to get all that moisture out.
Depending on the state the roots are in too, I've taken a plant and just pulled it out of its pot and just set down the whole dirt ball
and just let it dry out.
Yeah, and let it dry out.
And you can cut those leaves that are. I would just cut those off now because there is no saving those.
No, unfortunately not.
When are you guys at the nursery?
Every day.
Pretty much every day.
Between the two of us, we're here every day.
But no, I would seriously mess it up picking on my own.
So a good thing to do when you do come by is go ahead and check your conditions in your house. You don't have to be like it's north, it's south. That can be confusing sometimes. But if you
have a general idea,
and something that you like. Do you like plants with big leaves, a little bit of color, things that are pokey? Gonna poke your roommates? I don't know. You can let us know and we'll help you. We're both here. Tuesday through Saturday. Wednesday through Saturday, but one of us
I'm here
is.
Monday. So basically
and I'm here
between
Tuesday.
the two of us, someone will be here.
Someone will be here. We have a lot of plant people, not just us. Most people who work here have an extremely large knowledge of plants, houseplants, perennials, and we can help you out.
Covered.
Yeah.
Just a quick one I'm going to throw in here. What about pet-friendly plants?
Ooh.
That's a question we get a lot. We've got a lot of options for pet-friendly plants. Pretty much all the ferns, a lot of the palms too.
And the ferns are easy to hang. If you have a cat that it's not toxic, but it's going to eat the plant and just loves to bat them around. Those can go in a hanging basket and you can get them up off counters and Cats
Yeah.
might still be able to get to them.
Yeah, I think all the calathea, prayer plants, those are non-toxic too. Nerve plants, Photonia, very cute. But yeah, and then hanging plants are probably
Way
my
to
go-to
go.
because, pothos can be like mildly irritating, but if you put it in a hanger where your cat or dog can't get it, you're good. So,
And the big one to stay away from is the sago palm,
yeah.
which I think we only have one right now. So,
Yeah, sago palm.
Cool, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, back on the QA track. Oxalis shamrock plant, extremely thin growth. I've been using the cylindrical fertilizer spikes, but I don't see much improvement for thickening the plant.
So those don't have a deep root system.
I
It's
don't think so.
tubers. So it's kind of strange that it's thinning. It might be light or water.
Yeah, but it's like it'll kind of stretch and get real long and skinny as it tries to reach more
for
light.
light. Because mine is in as much direct sunlight as I can get it in.
Like outdoors during the summer, I have to keep it in the shade, but indoors, it's like it really
needs-
likes the light.
And also underwatering that, it'll get kind of leggy.
Weaker, more brittle.
Okay, I super dehydrated my ferns.
Oh no!
They were a gift.
Oh no!
I trimmed off all the dead leaves, and there are.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I did the same thing.
Oh. I trimmed off all the dead leaves, and there are a few that are still bright green.
Yes!
Color. Woo! I'm giving them lots of attention now. Anything else I can do to help them out?
Keeping them moist. I did that with that heart fern that I got here, and I was so excited about. And then I, 2 weeks later, forgot about it and sent Vanessa a picture, and I was like, I killed it, which I didn't do. It took almost a week for it to come back. But it made it back. So what I did was just put it in a dish that had water in it for a few days to make sure it stayed moist and just really got enough water.
One of the few plants you really can let them set in a little bit of water. And the nice thing about them too is they can come back from very little growth.
Yeah, it sounds like you didn't kill it all the way. So congrats on that.
And maybe a little low strength, gentle fertilizer just to help it, bounce back a little faster.
But it sounds like it should be fine, and you did the right thing by cutting off the crispy leaves. So it should be good.
Okay, going to skip over the question before this because this is kind of a good one to leave out on. Anybody else who wants a question answered should submit it now because we're kind of closing in on our deadline. I have a large macho ferns that are turning yellowish. What can I do?
Those are tricky, especially bringing them in the winter.
So if you've moved them in recently, it could just be them adjusting to lower light, indoors in your garage. My macho fern, I just trimmed it.
That's
almost
what I
all
do.
the way
I pretty
back.
much let it go dormant when I bring it in the winter.
Keep it a little drier, keep it cooler, in the garage. Kind of refrigerate it. If it's in the house, I'm guessing it's probably just adjusting to that change.
Yeah, because they love being outside. That's clearly the best climate for them. So if you start to have a lot of problems with it and you want to save it, I would go ahead and, maybe cut it and let it just go dormant and it'll be fine. Just keep it watered slightly and then stick it outside next year and it'll be even bigger.
Cool. And okay, Laura says, I love your enthusiasm. So what is the most unique houseplant that you have at the store? What is your favorite houseplant?
The red Congo. That's my favorite right now.
That is
we didn't bring one in because it was too big and we have too many plants. So it's a philodendron. It has a similar shape of the Birkin, but it's a lot bigger.
Yeah, I would say it probably looks the closest to this one. It's kind of like a nice deep burgundy leaf and just very big and full.
The stems are red.
I have one at home, and it's I've trained it to climb up a pole, so I made it tall because it was getting a little crazy.
I've seen it. It's cool. I love it.
I put Christmas lights on it.
And then we got some in, and I bought one so I could match Vanessa. And we still have some. That's the one I'm most excited about right now.
No,
we have those great orchids too.
Ooh, oh, actually, yeah. Okay, I changed.
We have an orchid that smells like chocolate right now.
Really good.
I bought one of those.
But yeah, we have a whole bunch of, really cute phalaenopsis, which are, the little moth orchids, very easy to care for. And
And again, some of them smell like chocolate.
yes,
which
oncidiums.
is amazing.
Also, super easy care orchid too. So don't be intimidated. They're really fun.
They are. And again, we're here to answer any questions. And even after you take a plant home, you can always call in or email or come back with a picture.
Are coffee grounds good for houseplants at all?
I mean, I compost my coffee grounds. I don't put them
Yeah.
directly on it.
I know, I haven't done. I've heard it's supposed to be good. I think it's phosphorus or one of them. I don't remember.
Because I just
But
compost
I haven't
mine
tried
for
putting
outside.
it directly in there just because I feel like, it might get, if it's not composted and broken down, like it could get moldy and kind of funky.
I get most of my nutrients and stuff from food, fertilizers.
Hey, like all of our questions are up.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
I know. I love this.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Back soon.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys learned a little bit or a lot. Again, come and see us if you have questions, if you need help picking out a plant. We're always here 6 days a week now.
Woo.
Yeah.